We're at the IAS meeting here in Paris. We're here with Ian McGowan, who's with the University of Pittsburgh, and you have been a long-standing advocate, researcher, focused on rectal microbicides, which are really important for a number of people and for a number of reasons. So I'll let you maybe tell us a little bit about the backstory and then going up to current. That might be the best way to do it, briefly.
Okay. Well, you know, there's been research on rectal microbicides now for quite a while, like 10, 15 years. And it really grew out of a desire to create products that people would want to use, could use, would like to use. And so, you know, we knew that a lot of people who practice anal sex use lubricants, and therefore we wondered, could we actually develop a lubricant which was protective, ideally against multiple STIs, but definitely against HIV. And so, you know, the first studies kind of piggybacked on the experience we'd had with vaginal microbicide development, and the first attempts were really to characterize safety of the vaginal products when used rectally, but pretty quickly we got into a sense of, no, let's develop products which are primarily indicated for rectal use. And then towards the end of this period, actually we came full circle and said, well, let's develop products which could be used in either compartment.
Because I guess from the perspective of male and female,
yes,
the insertive issue is like both for the women. I mean, sometimes they practice rectal.
Exactly, and this was one of the great unspoken issues, right, which people felt a little uncomfortable about speaking about, but it was absolutely critical. And myself and some colleagues...
So a form of birth control, so to speak.
Well, that was one of the rationales given, but the reality was, even in sub-Saharan settings, some women, not a trivial number, were having unprotected anal sex. So we could do a lot of work in trying to protect the vagina, but if we didn't pay attention to the rectum, then that was going to be a problem. So that was in a way where the rectal microbicide, you know, idea came about, and there wasn't a lot of options at the time when we began. People were looking at oral PrEP, treatment as prevention, and so on. So we all kind of moved forward together, and then, you know, we began to see signals of oral PrEP efficacy. The IPREC study is one example, and that was still, I think, at a level where, you know, 44%. It wasn't a home run. There was maybe adherence issues. Now, what about trying a rectal gel? So I think there's still a very strong rationale. The space we're now in is a bit more complicated because we now have these astounding results for oral PrEP. You know, if used appropriately, perhaps we're at 100% protection. And, you know, as scientists, we're aware of that. I think as the community, they're aware of that. And perhaps more important, funders are aware of that. And so I think there is now, and you may be aware of this, a sense of, have we done all we need to do? You know, we've got oral PrEP. We've got intravaginal rings that are hopefully going to be licensed in the next year, perhaps, and we've got long-acting injectables. So the question which is beginning to dominate this area, rectal microbicide development, is there a need? Is there a will?
Is there still a need? Yeah.
Is there still a need? Is there still a political and financial willingness to fund these types of research? Which is curious because there's more going on in this space than ever before. So, for example, the Microbicide Trial Network has a very active phase 1 program. They have 4 different trials about to go into the clinic, looking at dapivirine gel as a new rectal microbicide, looking at a product from the Population Council, MIV-150, it's an antiretroviral with zinc and carrageenan, very interesting dose escalation study. We're actually planning to do a study where you compare using an applicator or just using your fingers, because that's one of the issues as well. People want a lubricant, they don't want some medicalized contraption. And so we're actually going to do a study seeing if you can get the drug where it needs to be through either technique. And also we're looking at a solid dose formulation in collaboration with Conrad, as sort of a rectal insert, suppository type drug. So a lot of activity, all those things are funded. We're going to move into the clinic over the next year. But the big question, of course, is not just do we need it, is funding available, it's how would we do the final stage of development, because then we get down to the question of phase 3. How do you do an effectiveness study of a new PrEP agent, could be any agent actually, but in this case rectal microbicides, when oral PrEP is there?
So we kind of, like you said, we come full circle. So the future remains unknown at this point. But nonetheless, the work up to it has maybe encouraged other research. I think, you know, it's like you're doing this work very feverishly, but there's others that are more or less competing in a way. The oral PrEP I don't know whether it encouraged it to move faster. I mean, the disease itself is enough of an initiative to move forward on it, but it seems exciting to just see how this will move. And maybe it's like for a certain population, and I mean, I guess it's who will actually use it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that we all want choice. And some people will want to take tablets, others won't. Some people might like to use a topical product. I think from a scientific perspective, there's very good data to suggest this would work as a strategy. And if someone's not able or willing or wanting to use oral PrEP but might use this, then why not? It's just getting the groundswell of support to actually make the research happen that's needed to get these products into the clinic. And I think it'll come down to, as we began, activism. People are going to have to lobby to say we need this. We want to have this option developed. And I know people like Jim Pickett, very well. I think are beginning to bring together stakeholders and community to really have a voice to say, oral PrEP, this is great, but we want this as well.
I think it's always good to have all of the people, as many people as you can from different disparate parts of the community,
yes,
and provider and medical community and the government too, to say this is what we're looking at. Yes. What do you think?
Yes.
Where do you feel we are with this at this moment? And maybe a little bit looking a little forward thinking, because you have to think about what is also being developed out in the field. So.
Yes. I mean, prevention is complex, it's multifaceted, there are things at different stages of maturation, and resources are limited. So it's not an easy issue.
That's the other big thing, is the money, the funding.
I think that's going to be the key driver.
Yeah.
And it's interesting whether or not some of the more commercial entities, pharma, might think, this is not a bad idea, maybe we should. And there's a little bit of traction, not as much as I'd like to see, but because I think commercially this could be viable. I just think, I think the whole HIV/AIDS, from an American perspective, budget, I think is, if not threatened, there are certainly voices now saying, look, treatment is one tablet once a day, you're done. Why do we still need to spend, $3 billion on an HIV/AIDS research? And that has a trickle-down effect. So I think everyone's becoming much more conservative about what they can or will be willing to fund. But nothing new. We have to lobby for what we believe in. So
definitely.
yes.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to kind of explore this and discussion with us.
Yeah.
And if we get the chance in the future, we'll see how this evolves.
Yes.
All right.
Indeed. Okay.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.